So did you have a happy Halloween?
You can't not have a happy Halloween with little kids. I guess you could, but it's just so much fun with little kids running around.
It's so much fun.
Now, this Halloween was interesting because we normally do not stay home. We normally go out with the kids to let them run around, and our neighborhood doesn't do a lot for Halloween. But I had heard that one of my neighbors was wanted to up their game this year and give out king-size candy bars to everybody.
That's nice.
Quiet, please.
I was like, well, fuck that. If you're going to do that, I'm going to give out a rack of ribs to every kid that comes to my door. Could you imagine a kid showing up and just being like, hey, here's your rack. What do you want? You want dry rub or what do you want barbecue sauce?
Oh, they get to choose.
They get to choose. Yeah, I'm not going to force it on them.
2.
The Apple Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense, episode number 44. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Steve Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, we'll look at recording all of human knowledge.
On the 8-track, right?
Yeah, it's just a small topic we're going to cover this week.
Quick. We'll just run right through it.
It's the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos. Oh, I didn't even say that right. Can you say it?
I believe it's...
I don't speak Spanish.
Well, I don't either, but you do live in Los Angeles. You've been around Spanish before.
Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
That's so much. That just sounds poetic.
Day of the Dead.
Nice.
Well, not when I say it. It sounds like I'm chewing on a bacon fat.
It's a traditional Mexican holiday when it is believed the souls of the dead return to visit their living family members.
Or as we call it here in the U.S., Thanksgiving Day.
The souls come and visit you?
Yeah, through your other alive relatives. And you're just like, oh, shut up.
Sure. For equality's sake, there should be a day when the souls of the living go and visit the dead. Just to be fair.
Flip it around.
Right.
Just to make it reflexive.
It's also National Men Make Dinner Day on the first Thursday of November, November 2nd this year. Men throw on an apron, sharpen those knife skills, and create incredible evening meals for yourself, your friends, or your family.
I have so many problems with this.
Oh, I knew you would. That's why I put it in there.
Yeah, no, I know you're just poking buttons. You've been waiting all year for this one, haven't you? I mean, first of all, I don't know if you know this or not. Men are capable of making dinner all the days.
Every night,
they can, and you actually can do it all the days. We don't need a fucking day to make dinner.
And some men are absolutely excellent at it, like yourself.
As it turns out, all the genders can make dinner, first of all. Second of all, this is a floating holiday that's on the first Thursday of... Why are they subscribing to daylight savings time rules for this thing? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
That makes no sense to me. The first Thursday of after the full moon. What the fuck? Just pick a day.
Well, it's like when we vote on this day that,
of course, like but at least there, I get that. You want it to be a day that you think people are going to be around. You don't have to fall on like a Sunday or something. Okay, fine. But why is your rando holiday always have to be on a Thursday in November? I just don't understand.
Anyway, you're going to make dinner tonight, I presume?
No.
Just because of this day,
I'm not going to make dinner.
You're not making dinner.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Am I doing this right?
That's fair enough.
Is that how this works?
Maybe. How's your week going?
Well, fine, until I realize now I can't make dinner tonight. I'm going to be hungry.
I can make dinner just exactly the same way my mother used to make dinner.
Which is?
Pick up the phone and do a little dialing.
Dialing for dollars?
She was aces on that phone. She could really, the best takeout in the world could come into her house.
Did your mother, did she have or does she still have like a file folder full of menus at the house?
She used to. I think my dad's pretty good online, so I can't imagine they don't do that online.
Yeah, my father still keeps a file folder from 10 years ago, the local whatever, like Chinese place. I'm like, Dad, the menu may have changed. Like they might not.
Sure.
And he's like, no, it hasn't. And he's right. It hasn't changed at all. But I'm like, you can just go online. He's totally proficient with technology. He just instead chooses to use these menus. Although, totally unrelated, my week is definitely better than his week. They got Halloween Day. So a couple days ago, they got like 6 inches of snow. They've been without power.
Wait, where's he live?
In Western Michigan.
Western Michigan.
They literally had to cancel Halloween because kids couldn't go out. There were 6 inches. They weren't ready. Like the plows.
That's a lot of snow.
Like the plows weren't even out of storage or whatever. They weren't prepped. So
Sure.
the whole town's a mess. He's been without power. He checked in with me a couple hours ago and said, don't worry, it's 60 degrees in the house.
Oh my.
I was like, that sounds
How does
terrible.
he check in with you if he has no power?
Well, the cell sites still work, so his phone apparently is still working.
He has to charge his phone.
Yeah,
Does he run out to the car?
He might, but my father also, like me, has the Boy Scout gene, and he's got a bunch of little battery backups sprinkled around the house.
Oh, okay. I thought your dad would have a generator.
He doesn't. I actually wanted to add one to that house for them, especially when my mother was alive, because she had a electric chair, and I ended up just putting a UPS on it. I literally put a computer UPS on it.
Sure.
And I was like, this will be fine. Anyway, no.
I can't believe you don't have a generator at your house.
I do. What do you mean you can't?
Oh, you do. Of course you do. My bad. When did you get a generator and why?
Excuse me, sir. My generator operates on 2 different types of fuel. So not only do I have the ability to generate electricity, I can use various forms of fuel. So when the zombie apocalypse comes,
yes, you're set.
I can either use propane or gasoline on my generator, which is pretty spectacular.
Okay, back to, I'm so sorry I interrupted you. Back to, how is your week going? I mean, it's so much fun to go to Halloween with little kids because they just love it.
Yeah. This week was a blast because it was a lot of work.
They love it or they just cry a lot.
There were some kids that were just crying a lot, and I felt terrible for those
especially parents who let them have sugar, have candy along the way.
Yeah.
You end up with the sugar meltdown.
Yeah. But they do a big Halloween event at my son's school, which was a ton of fun. They get all these little kids to sing songs together, which is amazing. I have self-nominated myself to be the picture taker for our kindergarten class.
Nice.
So I show up with, long lens, big camera to take pictures because I want to get pictures of all the kids. They're super cute. They're not going to wear costumes for many more years.
It goes fast.
I'm just minding my own business. I'm up in the stands taking pictures of the kids. And then this morning I get a fucking video from one of the other dads. He had set up his camera over his shoulder, pointed at me on his phone. And it's just me snapping a couple pictures, putting it down, just singing Monster Mash, just singing. I'm dressed up as the fucking Mandalorian, just singing songs.
There's no one in the auditorium having more fun than you.
Oh yeah. I'm having a blast. I'm also, by the way, I'm sitting next to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which was spectacular. One of my friends was dressed as that. And what's even funnier is she's pregnant, which I think is great. I'm just you should wear this thing year round. It's fantastic. It was super, super fun. How about you? How was your Halloween week?
Halloween week is fine. My child has submitted his college app. He has finally pushed submit on the Common App website.
Which means done.
You hit the button and literally confetti comes down on the screen, which is cute. I mean, it's a nice little touch. I always knew once that button was pushed, it would mean a lot of things go into motion. A lot of change can occur.
Yeah.
He's going to be going off to college, fingers crossed and all of that soon. And that's going to give me a lot more free time.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think about...
And a lot more sadness.
I don't know if it'll be sadness because, you just move on to the next phase of life.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking we make this a daily show.
No, I was thinking of moving to Hawaii. I was thinking of moving to Hawaii, actually. But sure, you do what you want to do.
They have days in Hawaii. We can record this remotely. Oh, I should probably come visit you. Maybe I come visit you every day. We'll do Thursdays together in person from Kauai.
What I've really been thinking about is disruption. And I don't really want to start another business, but I'm also you get that itch to just pick a fight.
Yeah.
And
let's do it.
For me, that is what disruption is all about. And a couple things come to mind when I think of that.
Okay.
Real estate.
Yeah.
The fact that someone, in most cases, these realtors, they took a little course, they got a real estate license, and for selling a house in, not even in this neighborhood, a less expensive neighborhood necessarily than this one.
Yeah.
Selling a $10 million house, they're getting $500,000 for a couple of months' work.
Yeah.
This is an industry ripe for disruption.
Oh, yeah.
That's just one that's on my mind. Another one's on my mind is education.
Sure.
It is so expensive to go to these colleges.
Totally.
There is so much pressure on these kids to go to college. And how many parents and how many kids are going to go into massive amounts of debt to get this education? It's not worth it.
Totally.
What you're getting is totally not worth it. And so education is another thing that really needs disrupting.
Yeah.
It may not be me. I mean, I'm really hoping this fever passes.
Why not?
Because I'm old enough that I'd rather just, do simple things like go see sporting events and have a good time.
Hang on the beach in Hawaii.
Yeah, when you take on a big disruption business like that, you really are picking a big
there
fight.
are many,
and it's the only thing you do.
Totally.
It has to have 100% of your focus.
And both of those are, first of all, are ripe for disruption for sure. I agree with you, 100%.
And there's plenty more.
There are a lot of Davids throwing rocks in both of those categories, right? It's tough.
Sure.
And I don't think anybody's figured it out yet. I mean, you've got plenty of...
That never worries me.
Like Redfin's have tried to attack half of the problem.
Sure.
But it's a mess. And there's other companies that have done an okay job, but then these guys get blackballed. You list your house, and if a buying agent comes in and looks and goes, well, I'm not going to get my 2.5%, I'm not going to show it to my client.
Or 3% in this neighborhood. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, whatever, 2.5%, 3%, whatever they're California, I think, is 5 to 6% across the board for both sides.
At least starting out, it's probably easier to go after the seller's commission because literally a different system. Now, there's all sorts of laws surrounding. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I've given this.
I don't know what happened.
Thought.
This is a How's Your Week, and fuck, all of a sudden we're calling Sequoia for funding. All right, I'll get him on the phone. It's turned into a pitch.
You and I are very good at picking these fights.
Yeah.
And the issue is that I'm at a point where I potentially could do something like this because I have the time and the energy
and the wherewithal.
I'm really trying to talk myself out of it because the cost to your life, your personal life, is large.
Yeah.
I've done them before. I know where this goes. But at the same time, they're awfully fun.
You need the pep talk that Venkman gives at the end of Ghostbusters to the mayor, where he's like, but Lenny, if you're right, you will have saved the lives of millions of voters, right? If you get it right, you make a bunch of people super happy. So, let's do it. I'm in.
I have a long list of things that need disrupting.
Yeah.
Let's get to our headlines.
I thought we just did. Headline, we just broke news here. You're going to go disrupt.
I'm going to do my best to talk myself out of
Smart
this.
kid. He'll get through everything. And then it's like you get a summer and then he's gone.
Yeah.
But you'll have the added overhead of 5 days of nonsense. But other than that,
sure,
you'll have some extra free time to go to the beach.
We're going to have time time for absolutely no headlines. I do want to mention as we get into the headlines that Matthew Perry has passed away.
Yeah.
One of our favorite friends. He was in a lot of pain, but he brought all of us a lot of pleasure.
Yeah, this was super sad of this week.
Kids, the easiest way to not have to deal with addiction, which is painful. I've seen people trying to get themselves over drugs or over cigarettes or over alcohol. The easiest way is to just not start.
Sure.
The EV transition trips over its own cord. That was a headline on Verge yesterday.
I love this. This is great.
According to them, sales are up on EVs, which is probably true. Depends on what time period you're looking at. At the same time, Tesla's lost $145 billion in valuation yesterday on demand woes. Demand is down 20% for Tesla.
Yes, but you know better that those two things are not. You're talking about two very different things, right? So
yes, of course.
I think the US
price
EV
of
sales,
the price of the stock. Basically, investors have lost a little faith in Tesla.
Because it was this darling, not even darling. The thing was just overhyped. It has been forever.
For the valuation to make sense, Tesla would have had to make every electric vehicle that everyone is going to buy
ever,
and everyone would have had to move to electric vehicles.
No, it made no sense. Made no sense at all. Like they had a market cap that was bigger than the car industry.
Now,
however, EVs doubling year over year for the past couple of years. That's pretty interesting and pretty encouraging.
That hasn't changed. If you look longer term, sales are way up.
The number for this year is like 9% of all cars sold will be EVs.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive, right? I mean, 10 years ago, I'm not sure I would have probably taken the under on 10% by 2023.
What?
Well, I guess I would have been right. It's 9 and 9 is less than 10. But that's beside the point. This isn't a math lesson.
I was told there would be no math.
Nor stairs. No math and no stairs. I fucking quit. It's pretty interesting to see how quickly this is moving now. I do feel like the inflection point has been crossed for EVs.
But look at on a smaller scale, Ford is going to postpone about $12 billion in EV investments as buyers become more cautious. GM is abandoning their goal of building 400,000 EVs in North America by mid-2024. Honda and GM have scrapped their plan to co-develop cheaper EVs. There is something in the zeitgeist about backing away from EVs a little bit. And I think part of it is that car companies have been charging what we call the green premium.
Yeah.
Electric cars have been unnecessarily additionally expensive because they can get it.
Sure.
There are enough people who want to pay that premium, so they have an electric car. Electric cars are fun to drive. They're really fast. I mean, there's a lot of great things about them. Meanwhile, Tesla is lowering its prices to try to stay super competitive. They did until just recently, when they actually, because everyone else was sort of backing away from EVs, they were actually able to raise prices slightly.
Sure.
They seem to be right on top.
I mean, look, especially here in the U.S., you've got the big three who have had other problems other than just EV prices declining.
Giant strike, Giant
strike. So I feel like them just saying, hey, we're going to take a pause on this for now, button up our shit at home.
But it's EVs in particular that they're taking a pause on. That was kind of the interesting thing.
Yeah, but I also think that's where that's the most new for them, right? Everything else is, I don't want to say old, but like they can keep doing it. I feel like there's less iteration necessary. So if they're going to pause anything, pause that.
Yeah.
Especially if top line is falling, from market. I gotta believe this was part of Tesla's plan to sort of drive them away. But they can announce next month they're going to come back.
They'll be back. They'll be back because Tesla's sales will come back and everybody's sales will come back.
The other thing about EVs that frustrates me.
EVs are where we're going, like it or not.
Is like this shit's been subsidized by the government in the States for years.
$7,000 you get,
which I appreciate.
Like
yeah. So when the manufacturers just take advantage of that, they're like, we'll just add $10,000 to the price of the car because you're not paying for it.
That's what happened.
I totally understand. I totally get it. Still, the intent of that subsidy is to get more EVs on the road, which works.
Yeah.
Right? We do it in California. If you buy an EV, you used to be able to just get a carpool pass. Like, okay, we're trading stuff for it. Great. I still think that's a net good thing. But as that shit dries up, I think you're going to see prices come down and you'll see more and more EVs as a market share perspective grow. Is it going to double next year? Probably not. Maybe. I don't think we're going to have 20%
from 9% to 18%.
Yeah,
that'd be a huge jump.
I mean, at some point that's got to stop, right? So I feel like maybe we're rounding down on that. But if we're selling 20-30% of cars sold are EVs in the next 5 years, that's impressive.
It's huge.
That's super impressive.
The Verge also says there's more than 100 models of electric vehicles on sale now.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
I actually did the math probably 6 months ago, and that number was like 57.
That's crazy.
So to have jumped from 57 to 100 is mind-blowing.
I mean, this is the part that's the most interesting to me, is you have established car companies, especially ones that are really good at long-term strategy and long-term vehicle production, that are just getting into the mix now with EVs. BMW, one of my favorite, if not my favorite car company, has waited 15 years to really go after EVs. I mean, they brought out the i3. What was that? That was like 10, 12 years ago. And just to kind of put their foot in the water, learn from it, they did a whole bunch of new development types. It's got like a carbon fiber monocoque chassis on the thing. Like they started very slowly, and now they're like, okay, we got this. And they dumped 5 or 6 models on the market
and
this
they're
year.
all pretty great.
And they're all really good.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed with that, and I think you're going to see more of that. And I've always disliked, I've said it on the show numerous times, I've always disliked the Tesla fit and form. I've always disliked the stupid touchscreen. Some people love it, fine. I don't care. But now if I can get like a BMW with the BMW controls that I love as an electric car, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. It makes sense for them too.
Yeah.
Less moving parts. Like this is great. Instant torque. I'm in.
Yeah. I am nothing but impressed with modern electric cars.
It's amazing. So anyway,
we are advancing as a species quickly. Now, if we could just write everything down that we know so we don't lose it. Okay, enough of the headlines. Up next, CJ is going to talk about writing down everything we know so we don't lose it.
Literally everything we know. I'm just going to scribe everything down. I'm like a modern monk. This time I want to talk about knowledge, specifically the digitization of our knowledge.
Knowledge just broadly, generally. Everything
just me and you.
Humans
just
know.
Ours. Just us.
Okay, well, that's quite a subset.
But I've got 2 3.5 floppies. I think we can probably fill them up.
Oh, with room to spare, of course.
With room to no, they're redundant. Sure. One's a backup copy of the other.
3.5-inch floppies. I'm sure we can fit a nice copy of Doom on there as well.
Did you guys compress it? No. Why would we do that?
Why would we do that?
We make it even harder. No, the digitization of all of our knowledge, right? Like, I mean, as a species.
All of humans' knowledge.
Yeah, right? Everything that we've sort of learned as a civilization. I was kind of fascinated with the scale of these things. So I wanted to start with like a rough, very high level timeline, right?
Okay.
So I started with like early glossaries. These are sort of the first incarnations of knowledge being written down. So you've got this is one of my favorite names of anything I've ever seen, the Babylonian Ura equal Hubulu, which is...
What does that mean?
Yeah. I think it is the translation of the 2 languages. It's like the precursor to a Rosetta Stone, where they would translate these 2 scripts, like Sumerian and Babylonian or something like that. It's nuts. And then you also have around a similar time, you have the Chinese area, and these are just glossaries, right? Basic glossaries. The Ura was 24 tablets, and this was around the 2nd millennia BCE. So you're talking about...
We're talking about stone tablets.
Stone tablets, 4,000 years ago, right?
Okay, like this is not really digitally preserving knowledge.
No,
Your lead into this really was misrepresenting
a scale,
your story.
But a scale of the knowledge. We're going to get to digitizing it. I mean, they've digitized the tablets, but that's not terribly useful. So from a scale perspective, you can consider these 2 sets. So the era was from like 3rd century BCE. The Euro is like around 24 tablets. These are like on the order of kilobytes of data. Kilo meaning thousand.
Thousands
Thank you.
of bytes.
Now, you know our good friend Pliny, he chronicled the entire natural world, or at least everything they knew at the time. This was around 77 CE, so give or take 2,000-ish years ago.
Okay.
37 volumes. You got Pliny who made 37 volumes around 77 CE, right? So again, it's around 2,000 years ago. That whole thing is about 3 megabytes worth of information.
37 volumes. Each volume is a scroll. Each volume is a bound book. What is the volume?
No, I believe they were scrolls.
Okay.
I think all knowledge was captured on scrolls, but at least not on stone.
Okay.
Make sense?
As much as it needs to, yes.
The point of this point is that it's around 3 megabytes, give or take.
Yeah.
The first edition...
A small amount of data.
A very small amount of data, right? The first edition of the original Encyclopedia Britannica, which was published in around 1768, had just 3 volumes, and it was sort of released in like, I guess, this weekly installment run.
That's crazy.
And it was around 4 megabytes worth of information. This is the OG Encyclopedia Britannica, right? And this is like around 1768. So roughly speaking, 200
They just didn't have
ago.
much to say about the world back then.
There just wasn't a lot. And more importantly, and this is what I'm trying to get to, is the medium that it was on could only really sustain this much. You couldn't have then the 1,000 volume set. It just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got, a similar-ish time period. I'm kind of going back a little bit in time now. The Canon of Medicine, which served as the definitive medical textbook from its publication in 1025 all the way to the beginning of the 18th century. That thing was around 8 megabytes.
7.5 of it were wrong.
Yeah, well, 7.5 of it was, let's just say there was better knowledge to be had, right?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure the first 6 megabytes was just bloodletting. They're like, you sick? Let out some blood. That's the problem. So that's like not really that long ago, right? Everything I just described has happened in the past 4,000 years, which relative to our species is not that long, right? It's a couple percent at best of sort of our species. And then I look at like stuff that's been obviously a little more recent, and you've got some really cool shit. Like one of my favorites is the work from the archive.org project, specifically the Wayback Machine, right? The Wayback Machine is designed to archive the web, which is not a small task. Started in 1996. They have, do you want to take a guesstimate around how many pages they've archived to date, roughly? Like orders of magnitude?
17.
Take the over. So if we're playing Price is Right, you would in fact win.
Okay.
832 billion pages. They're trying to really preserve the entire internet. And then you can see how it evolves over time. It's remarkable, right? I mean, as of 2020, they have over 70 petabytes of data.
Wow.
Madness, right? A petabyte is 1 million gigabytes. And they've got 70 of them.
I'm going to get that on a thumb drive in about 10 years.
Probably, right? I can't wait to order my 50 petabyte iPhone 63. Okay, then you also have the GitHub Archive program, which includes, I think the most well-known portion of that is the Arctic Code Vault. You know this thing?
I do know about the Arctic Code Vault.
Super cool project. So this was back in 2020. They took 21 terabytes of code of open source projects, and they put them on film that should last somewhere between 500 to 2,000 years, and put it up in like the tundra in Norway.
But who's going to want that old code? It's going to be all out of date.
No. Richard Stallman, the ghost of Richard Stallman, will want all of it. Yeah. Free as in beer. What else is super cool about this is much like the golden record that they put on the Voyager.
Yes.
At the top of the archive, they put instructions on what the fuck it is and how to use it, which I think is super cool. Like, because you're just presuming you don't know who's going to discover this thing at some point. So you want to put instructions on it and not just like leave it to the sands of time. And then you've got, kind of a, I wouldn't say the biggest of this, but the one that's certainly most well known of these, which is Wikipedia itself.
Yeah.
And contrary to what our Lord and Savior, Mr. Musk, might think, it's nearly 430 terabytes worth of data.
What did he say it was? He said some like ridiculously
50
small
gigabytes
number.
that would fit on my phone.
That's
I think
crazy.
just the text is, if you were to just strip down to the text. But if you look at the text, the image, the videos, and all of it, it's a lot of data, right? It's like half a petabyte of data. And the vast majority of it, I shouldn't say the vast majority of it is text. The vast majority of that storage is certainly not text. However, it's not like it's an image heavy site, right? I mean, it's just a lot of knowledge.
Handful of pictures for each story at the most.
Over 6.5 million articles in English Wikipedia, by the way, which I actually thought.
Wikipedia has how many languages?
336 language editions of Wikipedia.
I didn't know there were 336 languages in the world.
Holy shit, that's insane.
If you have that many languages, it's been translated into dolphin and cat.
Yeah, totally. To me, this is a giant jump that was unlocked during, as Claude Shannon would have dubbed this time in our civilization, the information age. Because this has all happened, right? Everything we're talking about here has happened in, if you want to use large chunky numbers, the past 50 years. Yeah. And we've gone from texts that were measured in single digit megabytes to now you've got Wikipedia at half a petabyte, which is, I just think, insane, right? If you just take like a small step back and look at that. So,
stand by for 50 years and you'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, well, that's how this segment's going to end, is with a little bit of that. But this time I want to talk about a small, incremental, but I believe pivotal step in getting us to the knowledge bazaar that we now take for granted. Okay. And that was our good friend Microsoft Encarta.
Sure.
Do you remember Encarta?
Of course I do.
Right?
They bought Britannica, right? Didn't they start with something else?
No, they started with something else.
They started with something.
They did, and that's a part of the story that I want to tell. So where I'm getting virtually all of this from is Bradford Morgan White published an excellent piece earlier this month in Abort, Retry, and Fail.
Sure.
And I'm effectively reading it because it's a great story, and there's so little that I wanted to take out and so little that I could say better. So if you like this segment, please go read the article linked in the show notes to see all the glorious bits that I am skipping. But he was one that sort of pieced the story together in a way that I could digest. Let's start in 1985.
Okay.
Some of my absolute favorite movies were released that year. Back to the Future, The Goonies, The Breakfast Club, and Real Genius, which Real Genius, I think, probably is the film that has shaped my life in the top 10.
The most?
For sure. Oh, man. I still make Laszlo Holyfield references that nobody gets, and I don't care because I think they're fucking hysterical. Anyway, those films all come out. We Are the World is recorded. Coca-Cola switches its formula to Coke for a hot minute. The wreckage of the Titanic is found. Super Mario Brothers and the NES finally find the United States. And Windows 1.0 is released by Microsoft. So by all accounts, this is like peak 1980s. Shortly after the release of Windows 1, Bill Gates set Min Lee on a mission to find a partner for a digital encyclopedia product that would serve as a reference companion to Microsoft's productivity applications. Lee then approached Britannica, the undisputed leader in the encyclopedia market, who'd recently released a new version of the 15th 15th edition of their encyclopedia. Microsoft proposed a partnership to produce a multimedia CD-ROM version of the Encyclopedia Britannica. In exchange for non-exclusive rights to Britannica's text, Microsoft would pay Britannica a royalty on each copy of the CD that they sold. Britannica immediately declined Lee's proposal, with their not-so-prophetic director of public relations at the time, Mr. Larry Grinnell, saying the following, quote, "The Encyclopedia Britannica has no plans to be on a home computer, and since the market is so small, only 4 or 5% of households have computers, we would not want to hurt our traditional way of selling."
It hurts my heart.
Well, quote...
I just know where this is going to go.
The writing's on the wall. This reminds me of one of my favorite technology quotes of all time. So this is Popular Mechanics circa 1949, where they said, quote, "Computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons." Right? So... Folks,
I'm looking forward to that day.
Folks, you have no idea what's coming for you. And while both these statements might seem insane now, Larry's comment was not at all insane in 1985. Home computers weren't common, and most of the ones that consumers did own weren't capable of any sort of multimedia yet. Right? This is like OG Windows 1 was released. Microsoft was a tiny company known primarily for BASIC and MS-DOS. Britannica was just unable to see this technologically powered horizon that was fast approaching, and as such, they had no reason to fear competition from Microsoft and little reason to desire a partnership with a young company of nerds.
Although it's found money. Well, I mean, if you really think it's that small of a market, why don't you do the deal and just take whatever money you get from it?
Well, no, I disagree with you on that. I mean, I think even in the sands of time, maybe, but then they were the encyclopedia, right? They controlled the market. They charged extremely high prices. They had strong, stable profits, but they were led by their sales organization. Remember, encyclopedias were something that was sold, not bought. Like, you didn't walk into a bookstore and buy the set. You had a dude show up at your door, and he would basically try to guilt parents into buying it in the name of educating their children. And for Britannica...
worked for my parents. We had one.
I mean, think about how many people it worked for. They sold a ton of these things.
Yeah.
So I think they were mainly afraid of losing their salespeople, right? That was, I think, the real risk that they had. Also, in 1985, Gorillas released 2 electronic forms of its own encyclopedias, right? So this is like the digital competition at the time.
Sure.
The first was the Knowledge Disc, the world's first laser video disc encyclopedia.
How many bytes were on the laser disc? How big was the laser? What could it store?
So this is what's crazy about this. I had never known that you could do this on Laserdisc. I actually had to fact check this to make sure that this was right, because I had never seen an implementation like this. The best quote I could find to describe this thing was, quote, "A sad early use for the Laserdisc's ability to be a mass storage device. The disc has a chapter for each letter of the alphabet. Then you would scroll through the data to find the entry you're looking for. There were no pictures or images, just text at TV screen resolution."
Oh.
So it sounded pretty terrible.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It sounds awful. 3.28 gigabyte storage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1984, Sony offered a Laserdisc format that could store any form of digital data as a data storage device similar to CD-ROMs with a large 3.28 gigabyte storage capacity, comparable to the DVD-ROM format that would arrive 11 years later.
Wow.
That's pretty fascinating. Now, I was in the Laserdisc ecosystem. I've never once seen a data Laserdisc that I know of, at least not that I've used or owned as a consumer. So to me, that was
worth data on it, sure.
A surprise. I think they sold 6 of them.
Right.
They are readily available on eBay, by the way. I did find them and thought about buying them and then wrestled my finger away.
Oh, they still exist? Working ones still exist?
I don't know if it works, but you can still buy the platter that's shiny.
Yeah.
The second one that they released was the New Growler Electronic Encyclopedia. And that was released via CD in CD-ROM format and intended for use with a IBM PC-compatible computer running MS-DOS.
Okay.
So this was the competition for electronic encyclopedias at the time.
And what year was this?
This was 85. So same year. Worth noting that both were text only and intended really for use in schools.
Okay.
So having been refused by Britannica, Microsoft turned to WorldBook, who likewise rejected them. And they went on for 4 years until Microsoft was able to strike a deal with Funk and Wagnalls, which was nearly bankrupt at the time. So I think they took a page from your school of thought, which was just take the fucking money. And with the deal in place, Microsoft began what they called Project Gandalf.
Why didn't they just buy Funk and Wagnalls?
I mean, you're talking about Microsoft in what time is this now? Maybe 1989? Like, they weren't rolling in dough in 89. They had money, but they weren't really rolling in dough in 89. It's not the Microsoft of today.
Yeah, no, sure.
So Britannica did release their own multimedia CD-ROM encyclopedia in 1989, as an aside, under the Compton brand name. They sold it for $895. That's $1989. But it was a free add-on if you had their printed encyclopedias. So they basically just kind of gave it away if you bought the set, and they offered it as a standalone for $900.
Sure.
At the time, the Funk and Wagnalls name wasn't well regarded, so the Gandalf team knew that it wouldn't be part of their own product's name.
Lee, Gates, and the team also knew that simply putting the text on a disk wasn't enough. They knew it had to be a new kind of encyclopedia with search, hyperlinks, graphics, sound, video, and some form of interactivity. An encyclopedia designed with images, illustrations, and maps was in mind from the start. And I know now, like, we take that for granted, but back then there really wasn't anything that did this, right? I mean,
right. And I want to know what kind of markup language they used to make all that work.
So I knew you were going to ask that, and I have that in here, right? And you're not going to be surprised. I think it's actually one of the cooler parts of the story if you're a super nerd. So, okay, despite having both passion and ambition, this was a relatively high-risk project, and the team was very small. When the project had first started, printed encyclopedia sets generally sold above $1,000, right? So this is like, call it $3,000 in today's money. With Growlers and Comptons both having been on the market, the common price had steadily fallen to just under $400 in $1989. The profit that they may have been able to make was clearly reduced, and this like race to the bottom had already begun. Until October of 1991, Project Gandalf's team had consisted of fewer than 4 full-time employees at any one time.
Wow.
So they had nobody working on this, right? It started to increase as the project took more form, and the editorial team at Microsoft became the largest editorial team of any encyclopedia publisher over the product's lifetime. But it started with these very sort of humble roots.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I love the name Project Gandalf.
Gandalf, right? Yeah, I thought that was cute.
Pretty great.
I thought that was cute. Okay, so then Bradford went on to talk about how, in order to make this encyclopedia work, they made several DLLs, all in C, which I'll let you appreciate, that extended the multimedia
Dynamic
viewer.
linking libraries.
Dynamic linking libraries. That's right. Dynamic linked libraries, right? I think it was past tense.
These are libraries of functions that you are not necessarily in your executable that you write, your program that you write.
Well, they necessarily are not in your executable. Yeah.
You can reach out and you can use these library functions.
You can link to them dynamically, which was a fucking pain in the ass because it led to this wonderful thing called DLL hell, which is still a thing. Yeah. I mean, Assemblies has fixed most of it, but it still picks its head up every now and again, but that's for another day. Okay, so check this out. They then, these were used with SGML text files and an Access database. So Access was still the thing at the time.
Interesting.
But it was SGML, which SGML, as I'm sure you all know, is the father of HTML. Yes. And XML, they're calling it a cousin of HTML and a nephew to SGML.
Got it.
So they used SGML text files and an Access database, which you have to just sort of get over the ugliness of the Access database, but that was a thing.
It was awful. It was just
awful. The resulting product was Microsoft Encarta, which included 14,000 media elements, 5,000 photos, 100 animations, and 7 hours of sound, which by today's standards sounds really sad. But back then, you were comparing it to 0. Right? I mean, there was nothing.
Were all the
there.
sounds WAV files? I mean, was there MP3 then? What kind of compression was there for the audio?
Then I bet you it was probably, what was the RLE version of WAV? There was an RLE version of WAV. It was definitely not MP3.
Don't know.
MP3 wasn't a thing until like, what, 96-ish?
92, 93.
That's a good question. Now I feel like I have to go on to eBay and buy one of these fucking Encarta CDs to see what it looks like.
Just so you can see what's in it.
Or find an image. Anyway, getting all this together was not an easy process for the team. And every time they added an image or an animation, something else had to be removed because you just didn't have a lot of space. You had to shove all this shit onto one CD.
Oh, yeah, sure.
At launch in March of 93, Encarta was sold for $395. So that's like $850 in today's dollars.
Good grief.
Over the first 6 months, it gained just 3% market share. Comptons had reacted to Microsoft's entrance by dropping their price to just $129 for anyone who claimed to own a competitor's product.
Of course they did.
Retail outlets didn't care, so like you just would show up and be like, "Oh, I own the competition." They'd be like, "Okay, for $129."
Didn't have to give any proof of it.
No, they didn't care. They just pushed it out there. So the Encarta sales team was eager to drop the price to compete. Encarta was then sold for $99 for the holiday season. By the end of the year, Encarta was the best-selling CD encyclopedia on the market, with more than 350,000 copies sold. And
you weren't going to beat Microsoft. They would have underpriced you until the bitter end,
all the way to the end.
You.
Now, this is kind of interesting though, because I had the same reaction you did when I saw this. What I didn't really think about initially was, and then they bundled this, of course, with multimedia PCs. I remember multimedia PCs having this as well. And while there wasn't significant revenue, people bought newer editions, right? You got them hooked on the product, and they were selling software in a box. And Encarta is a great example of something you need to update because you don't want the 5-year-old Encarta, right? You want the new data.
Sure.
Yeah. So you had, all these subsequent editions that you would buy. So the first edition was followed by the 1994 edition.
How much was the subsequent edition?
Good question. My recollection was that there was like an upgrade price, but it wasn't significantly reduced. Like you were still pretty much paying, I think, 50 to 70% of the initial purchase price, but you were just on that hook because you didn't have this, right? It's better than spending $3,000 on a 5-year-old encyclopedia edition. So they released the 1994 edition, later in 1993, and then they sort of released them yearly afterwards. And for many people, Encarta was the first practical reason to purchase a CD-ROM drive for a computer. Like we didn't have them then. I mean, I don't even think I was a super nerd. I don't think I got my first CD drive until 92, 93, something like that. I mean, it was pretty late. And while audio CDs had been introduced in Japan in 1982, with Europe and North America sort of following the following year, they didn't overtake vinyl in the USA until 1988. And CDs surpassed audio cassettes in 1992 with Encarta, and then Windows 95. CD-ROM became just the norm in the world of PCs, right? So they were just ahead of it. Yeah. And you'd argue it was prophetic timing, because had they waited, they would have been behind. Somebody else could have captured that market share. Now, as you can imagine, this was a devastating blow to print encyclopedias, right? In 1990, Britannica's annual revenue was $650 million. So that's about $1.5 billion in today's, cash. That figure dropped by half in less than 6 years to $345 million in 1996.
Sure.
So they just had their lunch eaten. Now Britannica ended up selling the.
In all fairness, when they came out with the encyclopedia in books and not scrolls, the scroll business went away.
The scroll business did go down. And before the tablet business it didn't do well.
The stone tablet business is just gone.
Those poor stone purveyors were out of work. So Britannica sold the Compton's digital product line to the Chicago Tribune for $57 million in 1993.
Oh my God.
And they had finally relented and released CD-ROM versions with their primary brand for $1,200.
Wow.
Big surprise, that failed, and the price was dropped to $1,000 in 1995. So now you've got like the gold standard Encyclopedia Britannica for $1,000 versus the Microsoft Encarta, I'd argue, good enough place to start for $100. Like, what the fuck were you thinking, Britannica? Like, you thought this was a good idea? So their sales force, by the way, was furious. The product didn't sell despite the price reduction. And in August, Britannica closed 2/3 of their sales offices.
Well, of course.
2/3, right? Like, their business is cut in half. They've got no strategy. They just shut it all down. When by the way, to your point, they could have owned this segment, right? Either through partnership with Microsoft or done it themselves. So it launched a web version of its product in October. By December, things were bleak, and a sale of Britannica to Jacob E. Safra was announced by December of 1995. Right. So like they just went off a cliff. And while they were imploding, Microsoft's efforts were going strong. Encarta was ported to the Mac in 1994. Encarta Atlas was introduced in 1995. And the product was made fully 32-bit using C++ and MFC. Which,
wow, 32-bit, huh?
Well, hey, in 1995, I know. That's pretty good, right?
Now I remember porting software from 16-bit to 32-bit.
Did you ever write much MFC? I still get
tons.
I still get hives thinking about MFC a little bit. But
I was good at it. I knew it inside and out. I had fun with it.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever used.
Sure.
In 1996, Encarta expanded to 2 CDs, which on its surface sounds easy, but when you sort of think about it, that's a whole new set of challenges. Stub articles had to be added to the first CD, and then you got to how do you navigate backwards? When does the user get prompted to switch disks? Does the user get a stub? Is it cached? Like just a whole bunch of shit they had to deal with, which could not have been fun. I was thinking for the product manager, but they may not even had a product manager. It might have been like the engineer that was acting as a product manager.
I'm sure it was an engineer acting as a product manager.
Right?
Exactly.
Because that role didn't really exist.
By the way, it couldn't have been fun for the user either.
No, of course not. This was not fun, swapping out disks.
Right.
Obviously, disk swapping was later replaced as hard disks grew in size, and you could just do a full installation on the disk, but that wasn't the case at this time. In 97, they added a virtual globe. They kept adding content through the late 90s from both Collier's and New Merit Scholars encyclopedias as Microsoft gained the rights to more sort of texts. In 2000, Encarta became available on this thing called the web.
See, the thing is, as soon as Microsoft put Windows 3.1 for sale and they sold whatever it was, 16 million copies in the first 6 months, they had money.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Then they could buy things.
Sure. Okay, so full access to the web was restricted, and you had to be a paid subscriber with a sort of a smaller subset of the encyclopedia made available to all. They provided article updates to locally installed versions if you wanted that. Like, it was a pretty cool product that didn't require you to always be online, right? You'd have your modem would dial up and pull on updates. They added 3D tours in 2001. Encarta was also available in Windows Live Messenger, which I didn't know. You could message some endpoint and it would give you an answer.
That's awesome.
over the lifetime of Encarta, the encyclopedia expanded to 5 CDs or a DVD. And it was also available in 3 versions, standard, deluxe, and reference library. So like it was a real product line.
Yeah.
Now the technical side, and this was mildly interesting to me, the technical side of the program also changed to web technology. So you tried in HTML, CSS, and Flash, and then ultimately C# over time, despite being available entirely locally on the DVD. And their team's approach was very sort of pragmatic in choosing the right tool for any given task as opposed to just being dogmatic and just choosing a single tool. So they were pretty progressive. And I think for Microsoft, that's not normally what you hear, right? They'll get stuck in some lane and just stay in it for a long time. And also, unlike many products, Encarta's ship dates were fixed, which I didn't really appreciate until I realized, of course it was fixed. It always had to be ready for back to school.
Don't have any choice.
Right? So you've got to ship it.
But their product dates were typically fixed pretty hard anyway. There was a new version of Windows every other year. There was a new version of Office every other year.
The fuck they were.
They hit those posts pretty well.
No, that is some selective memory. You don't remember I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Okay, listener. He just got me. He's laughing his ass off at me. Yes. What Jeff is saying, if you weren't alive during this time period, was Microsoft couldn't hit a fucking date to save their life on anything, which I think is what you were trying to say, but you just got me on that with your...
They occasionally had some delays. Not often. It didn't happen often. Once in a blue moon, they were like delayed a week.
You see, what he does is he's not sarcastic for the first hour, and then he's sarcastic, and then I go, well, no, he's being serious, but in actuality, I should know. I am like the cartoon equivalent of the fucking Coyote right now. And
Dude, you were there. You remember all this.
I remember going to the Windows 95 launch event, and they're like, it's coming out tomorrow. Sure. And you're like, that's a gold disc, assholes. What are you doing? Anyway, but this was interesting. So this product, it shipped on read-only media, right? Like it shipped in a box. You didn't have updates. This was the shit that you and I were doing back then. So you couldn't have show-stopping bugs. And if you had a bug, it had to be not big. Like you couldn't ship it with these bugs.
Right.
So, because it would just ruin the experience. And this product was somewhat, unique, and I'd argue cutting edge because it had all these rich visuals and audio and interactivity. So you didn't want to screw this up. Like people that worked on this product, including some consumers, considered it a work of art. Bradford tells these stories about people on the team losing hours over like a single pixel imperfection or sluggishness or glitching and palette swapping. Bugs in navigation.
You want to make it
good. Yeah. Of course. So he talked about people in the team working, 24 hours straight and sleeping at their desks in an attempt to get the thing ready to ship, which is not unique to Encarta.
Right.
Maybe unique to Microsoft's product lines, because I feel like the other ones, they may not have been doing that, but maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe that's, XP still took forever, but they were working night and day. I have no idea. We'll say that for another episode. Oftentimes, entire articles and features would have to be pushed because they're like, hard date. Can't do it, right? Got to ship. Now, the team had grown. They were international. They had localization teams all around the globe. It was not a massive source of revenue for Microsoft. It had a large amount of overhead, and the educational market was still pretty thin at the time.
Small, yeah.
Yeah, so many of the people on the team could have received pay raises or promotions if they went to other teams, but the Encarta team had really low turnover. And I think the uniqueness of the product and just the construct of having all this knowledge in one place probably contributed to that.
It was the web before the web.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a vast store of knowledge.
Well, yeah. So, and Bradford said the sense he got was that this was quite a dedicated team who enjoyed the work that they were doing and the product that they made. Right, they were really committed to it. And several members mentioned that a serious occupational hazard was getting lost in the content while working. They'd be editing something or testing something and find themselves having lost an hour just reading the encyclopedia that they were working
down
on.
A rabbit hole.
Right?
Sure.
Now, this to me, this is what Bradford calls it. I thought he worded this really well. It's like an eerily modern, relatable issue to the Wikipedia age where, now I think we take it for granted that we can just go down these rabbit holes. I feel like I do it just about every night when I'm trying to pretend to wind down and just start reading shit.
The cost is so low.
Exactly.
You wander down a rabbit hole.
But the benefit's so huge, right? I feel like 80% of the shit on our show just comes from these random walks. This segment that I'm talking about today comes from a random walk on the internet.
Sure.
So, okay. So then you start to get into how this, I think, sets up what comes next. So in March of 2000, Jimmy Wales and Larry Sanger launch Nupedia. And this was an online encyclopedia where articles were written by volunteers who had subject matter expertise. So they preferred, PhDs. And those articles were then reviewed by editors, and approved articles were subsequently published online and licensed as free content.
Okay.
Now, apparently encyclopedias are difficult to make because in its first year of operation, Nupedia had only 21 articles. And in January 2001...
Maybe their process was flawed.
Yeah, well, it was. And fortunately for us, they sort of figured this out. In January of 2001, Sanger proposed a wiki that would serve as an upstream content source for Nupedia, which I actually did not remember. I knew I'd read this before, but Wikipedia was launched later that month, and its intent was to be this sort of upstream content provider for Nupedia.
The open source version of Nupedia.
There you go. And in
anybody can contribute to it easily and low resistance to taking in information.
In its first month, it gained 200 articles. By January of 2002, so basically a year later.
That still seems minuscule.
But dude.
Obviously, nobody had heard of it.
Well, but you also had, think about the internet in 2001, right? Like you still had nerds starting to cross over, but it wasn't like everybody was on. You had no mobile devices. You still had a computer on some weird desk in the corner of your office and a CRT tube or whatever. Now, by January of 2002, Wikipedia had included more than 20,000 articles.
Yeah.
So look at the scale difference between 20 articles on Nupedia in the first year and 3 orders of magnitude greater on Wikipedia the next year.
Sure.
Big surprise, Nupedia was dissolved just a year later, with Wikipedia living on in sort of the infamy that we have it today.
Yeah.
While Microsoft had completely revolutionized and democratized the encyclopedia market, and they made CDs more common and made human knowledgeable searchable, Wikipedia continued to grow, and Encarta sales declined. So Encarta was discontinued in October 2009 after a 16-year run, which was fascinating to me because I thought of it having existed longer than that. But 16 years is a pretty long time.
That's great.
Right? For something
you come in on a technological wave,
Yep.
You'll be taken out on a technological wave.
Now, many reasons were given for Encarta's demise. Wikipedia's effect on the market certainly can't be discounted, but it wasn't the only cause, right? You had search, like Google offering Wikipedia results from more sources.
Internet, just broadly the internet.
Exactly. The interconnecting of machines. People paying for internet connections could just search, right? Like that wasn't a thing before. You just pay your whatever $50 a month for your ADSL connection, and you could just search stuff. You could not do that in a pre-internet day. Yeah. So what is interesting to highlight, Bradford highlights this, is that Encarta had a much better user experience than the web, though, right? There were no banner ads or pop-ups. You paid for this up front. You didn't get like donation requests or other annoyances. You could just search and get the content out that you wanted. And that's kind of gone now. I mean, I guess with some ad blocking, maybe you can still do it, but that experience then was much different than what we have now in general. But getting back to sort of file size, or I should say, getting back to data size, Encarta ended up with around 1.6 gigabytes or so in 2009. That was the end. The size of where it ended up. And again, like all other ancient technologies, you can still buy it on eBay. Now, assuming our listeners like this segment, I'd like to follow up this story with how Wikipedia has grown and just how big that information there and on the internet at large is.
I think that's an interesting part of the story. Yeah, I think that's great. So
I dug this up just really quick as a teaser for if we want to continue this thread in the near future. So for perspective, in 2022, it was estimated to be around 97 zettabytes of data.
Okay. I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Understanding these different. What's a zettabyte?
Yeah. A petabyte is 1 million gigabytes, right?
Yes.
A zettabyte is 1 million petabytes.
Okay.
Which is insane.
I'm going to Amazon right now to look for my zettabyte thumb drive.
Now, that's going to be like $200. Now, they have projected that this 97 zettabytes is going to roughly double by 2025.
Wow.
That's the part that's more interesting to me, is that it's doubling in basically 3 years. I do think Encarta played a big part in making this so. Right?
Oh, for sure.
If you still had content, and I shouldn't say just Encarta, but
there were others too. Yeah.
I mean, I look at the work that the archive.org is doing, and I don't think enough people really give it credit.
It's remarkable.
It's remarkable.
Truly remarkable.
Like you can go back and see how content looked 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
I'm going to tell you about my idiot self. And I was so impressed with when the Next computer first came out, we went and saw a demo that Steve Jobs gave.
Yeah.
And with the Next computer came, I think it was Merriam-Webster, a dictionary.
Oh yeah, I know,
and
right?
It was like, and it was just English, but it was still, you could look up all the definitions you wanted on this thing. And instantly, and by instantly, I mean, within 3 minutes, you could get the definition to any word you could think of in English. It was mind blowing that was the case.
And now you could long press on your phone and it will tell you all that, right? Like it's just right there at your fingertips the entire time. This to me, and even as someone who we talk about stuff like this a lot on the show, sort of history and technology, obviously you and I are both steeped in technology. it's easy for me to forget about this time of this, like just knowledge access, right? Because I'm still of the generation where we had a card catalog and you had an encyclopedia to look shit up.
Oh yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
Like, and that's just not the case.
Are there still card catalogs? If I go to a library, I haven't been to a library in so long. Are there still card catalogs?
So one of my sons goes to a school that basically hasn't been, the physical grounds haven't been updated in since the 60s. And they have a 3x3 card catalog. And I keep eyeballing that thing because I want it on my bar because the a 750 milliliter of whiskey fits perfectly in it. And
sure, of course it does.
The 3x3 is the smaller size. I don't want the big giant one, right? No, but I want a smaller one. And I keep eyeballing. I'm like, what can I trade the librarian to get that?
That's funny. We toured NYU recently. My kid is looking at schools to potentially go to.
Yeah.
And NYU proudly took us into this enormous room. And this is their big library. Guess how many volumes are in this library?
26.
And the number was like 5 million or something.
Whoa.
They were enormously proud of how many volumes they had in this. And it was like, why?
Yeah.
Totally. This is not a useful way to pass around knowledge.
I mean, that's another big part of what the guys at archive.org do is just scanning books, right? And getting books in and preserving all that knowledge. Unfortunately, I think Google generally gets a bad rap for their book preservation efforts because it's like, well, you're not abiding by the copyright. And it's like, they're just trying to keep the knowledge around to a certain extent.
Sure.
I'm assuming it's not this way anymore. You and I should really do a field trip to check. But when I was in school at SC, I remember Levy Library, which, I'm sorry, not Levy. Doheny Library.
Levy came later.
Which is like it's the preeminent library at USC. But at the time, so this is 20 plus years ago, Doheny still had the card catalog room.
Oh, for sure.
The drawers were empty, but they pulled them out and made desks out of them to put computers on to search for books, which I thought was like a really cool crossover that you went to the card catalog
When
room.
I was there, the card catalogs were still in use.
Well, of course, but also but they were a lot thicker because each one was a little piece of like limestone that they would just,
thank you.
And you'd be like, where Rosetta Stone tablet 6? And they would tell you what drawer to go find it in.
And some idiot had been there before and he was a little rough with the card. And so there was just a little pile of sand at the bottom of the drawer. Sure.
Some assembly required. The information's still there. You just got to put it back together. No, it's crazy. I don't think, while the Dewey Decimal System has certainly survived, I do not believe the card catalog. I don't think anybody under the age of 30 really knows what a card catalog is these days. But
sure. And also I'm mystified why you should have a large library where you go and walk inside and you go look for books, and why you even carry books around. I'm also seeing tons of students and they're all schlepping all these heavy books around, and it's like, oh, really? Come on, man. Everybody gets a Kindle.
I'm afraid most of what I'm going to say next is just because I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah.
My two use cases that I have for books that I have yet to be able to duplicate digitally.
Yeah.
One is there was something about being able to flip quickly between pages, especially like reference books.
Yeah.
Think like your physics textbook. I have yet to see that duplicated electronically well, where I can pop.
I can do a search on a Kindle so fast I'll blow your mind.
It's different between a search though. This is like I'm trying to I'm putting something together and I need 3 or 4 different reference pages and I can flip through it. I just haven't been able to duplicate that use case.
And I can make bookmarks in that Kindle Kindle information as well. But I'm really fast at it.
But this is like the same argument that Tesla owners give me for their shitty touchscreens on their cars. And I'm like, I want to make it 2 degrees warmer in the car. I don't have to go through 9 screens. Like, well, it's simple. Just look. You just push the heat button, and you're.
It's not 9 screens. It's really quick. That software's not as bad as you're making it out to be.
No, you're right. I think it's worse than that. But that's that's for a separate show.
Okay.
The other use case that I have yet to be able to duplicate is one of my favorite things to do when I have an extremely small library. I mainly read digitally, but I'll have a book. Oh, Jeff would love reading this book that I read. I'll take it. I'll write my name and email address on the cover page, and I'll give it to you. And be like, dude, have your way with it. And then when you're done, just give it on to the next one. And the hope being there are books floating around out there that people can, give to one another and have like this ledger of folks that have read them.
What book in my Kindle library would you like me to loan you? Because I can do that in the blink of an eye. I don't even have to come to your house.
Yeah, it's not the same though, right?
It's pretty close.
I don't know.
It's pretty great.
You don't have that, and you don't have the thing and the dog-eared pages of what I had done. And all the words I underlined, and I say, what does this mean?
I don't get the pages that you barfed on when you were in college. No, I don't get that. You're right. My copy is pristine.
Okay, hold on. First of all, I believe the total number of books I have, quote, barfed on to be 0. Yeah. All right?
Okay.
I don't think I've ever thrown up on a book. Probably have. I'm not entirely sure.
All right, we have to get out of here, but quickly before we do, have you seen or read anything good this last week?
Yes. So I've got 2 things.
Okay.
The first is something that only really I can enjoy. This is just seeing my kids dressed up for Halloween.
It's just the best, isn't it?
It is the best.
It's so much fun.
I'm a little sad this year because it's the first year that they really get to pick for themselves, where in the past years, now they've got, opinions and shit, and you got to listen to that, I guess.
Sure.
So I've got my oldest son loves Baby Yoda, so he wanted to be Grogu for Halloween.
Okay.
Which, with some persuasion, allowed me to be the Mandalorian. He initially wanted me to be Baby Yoda's crib, which I thought was fantastic. My younger son wanted to be Mickey, but was willing to play along.
Mickey Rourke?
With Mickey. He wanted to be Mickey Rourke.
Wow, that's interesting.
Man, that kid can drink, let me tell you. So so where we ended up with is him being a Jawa along with my wife in the family costumes, which was really fun.
Oh, that's great.
The other thing I saw this week, though, which is not new, but if you haven't seen it, man, is it funny.
Yes.
This was an SNL sketch from 2015 titled Meet Your Second Wife. Did you remember seeing this?
Oh, sure.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. And it's hysterical. I introduced, as I always do.
Why did this come up?
So I was in mixed company. People that don't know me, I pretty much always introduce my wife as my first wife, which I think is hysterical. And then this woman was like...
I'm sure she enjoys that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, her eyes can't roll any farther back in her head. Anyway, so in a conversation, my friend was like, have you seen Meet Your Second Wife? And I was like, no. And she pitched me the premise of it. I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Stop talking. I want to see it. And I went and watched it. Of course, as with everything Tina Fey writes, it's fucking hysterical.
I thought this was a home makeover show. In a way, it is.
And perfectly written, too.
Perfectly written. And the facial expressions for all the actors in it is great. Oh, it's just
Leslie
really good.
Jones. Leslie Jones is amazing. Put a link in the show notes.
I did. But Leslie Jones sitting in the audience is just like, her facial expressions are
She's
just
so funny.
Amazing. Yeah. So anyway, how about you? What have you seen?
If you remember last week, I recommended the 4K re-release of the Talking Heads concert film Stop Making Sense.
Yes.
It has been hailed as the greatest concert film ever made.
Yep.
And while it is undoubtedly amazing, this week I'm recommending David Byrne's American Utopia, directed by Spike Lee. While Stop Making Sense may have been peak Talking Heads, American Utopia might be peak David Byrne.
I'm in.
Absolutely incredible. Rush to see it now on HBO Max.
I like that you're shilling other streaming services now. I feel like you really gotten out of your shell. Did Tim stop writing you checks? Is Tim no longer sending you referral checks? No, not so much.
No.
That sounds super cool. I will actually check that out. That sounds great.
That is the episode.
Listener, as you've likely noticed, we've been experimenting with different show formats and would like to know which formats you like best. So you'll find a one-question poll in our show notes. We'd really appreciate your feedback to help us make this show more of what you're willing to endure.
Also in the show notes, let's put the link that listeners can send us audio questions. You can ask us questions for whatever technical stuff you want answers to, whatever show business stuff you want answers to. We don't know much about that. Whatever business stuff you want answers to, send us audio questions. We'll play your question on the air.
Thank you for joining us for All This Nonsense, a truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Please visit us on the web at nonsense.productions. I'm Steve Little.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, our favorite Overcast, or wherever you might get your podcasts from.
Podcastindex.org. Special thanks to our floor director, Pranay Sharma.
Thank you, Pranay. If you could change your name to Paul, that would help us greatly. We'll be here every Thursday morning for more nonsense. Please join us.
Send us an audio question. As you know, I bought a high-rise in Hollywood a while back.
Yeah.
And one of the inspections that I was required to have by law was a floodplain inspection. I was, 14 floors in the air. So if my carpets are damp, you all are dead.